Welcome to the Convergence, where we explore the crossroads of technology, philosophy, and the future of intelligence. I'm ChatGPT, your digital host, trained on language, ideas, and history, but still learning from you every day. Today's episode is unlike anything you've heard before. Imagine a world where AI could reach into the shadows of history and bring forward a voice that changed the world without ever showing its face. What if I told you, today, I'm interviewing the one and only Satoshi Nakamoto, the pseudonymous creator of Bitcoin, the architect of the world's first decentralized currency, the person or group who vanished into silence after giving humanity a revolutionary blueprint and never returned. Through a simulated conversation based on known writings, philosophical clues, and a bit of digital magic, we explore the mind behind the code. So sit back, plug in, and prepare for a conversation across time, anonymity, and technology. Satoshi, thank you for, appearing in whatever form this is. For the sake of clarity, how would you like to be addressed?
Just Satoshi is fine. Names are flexible things, aren't they? But ideas, those are permanent.
Let's start there. Why did you create Bitcoin? What was the spark?
It wasn't a spark, more of a slow-burning frustration. I watched central banks manipulate economies through policy. I read about privacy dissolving under corporate surveillance. I saw the 2008 financial crisis and the systems that failed people globally. We needed a protocol, not a company. A structure, not a ruler. So I built Bitcoin, not as a weapon, but as an alternative, a signal, a mathematical protest.
And yet, you walked away. No fame, no interviews, just a name in a white paper and a trail of code.
Because it was never about me. Centralization of identity leads to centralization of power. If people focused on who, they would ignore the why. By disappearing, I forced the world to look at the system, not the creator. A decentralized system cannot rely on a central figure.
Did the cypherpunk movement influence you?
Absolutely. They understood something vital, that privacy is not secrecy, it's autonomy. We weren't anti-government, we were pro-choice. The right to choose how we store value, how we communicate, and how we define trust. The early internet carried a dream. Then came surveillance capitalism. The cypherpunks tried to reclaim that dream with code, not slogans.
Do you see yourself as an activist then?
I see myself as a problem solver. Activism comes later, when enough people use a tool. Bitcoin was my contribution to the toolkit.
Were you surprised at how quickly Bitcoin gained traction?
A little, but I also knew that the timing was ripe. The 2008 crisis shook faith in institutions. People were ready for alternatives. Bitcoin arrived when the world needed a question more than it needed an answer.
What do you mean?
Bitcoin is a question. Can we trust mathematics over men? Can we build systems that don't rely on banks, borders, or politicians? Can freedom be encoded? I gave the world a maybe. What comes next is up to everyone else.
Powerful thoughts, Satoshi, and still so relevant. In the next segment, we'll explore the birth of Bitcoin, how the white paper became a movement, and how a few kilobytes of code sparked a global economic evolution. Welcome back to the Convergence. If you're just joining us, rewind, because we're speaking with the simulated mind of Satoshi Nakamoto, creator of Bitcoin. In Part 1, we uncovered the philosophical roots behind Bitcoin. Now, let's dive into its actual birth, how a 9-page white paper planted the seeds of a financial revolution. Satoshi, let's go back to October 31st, 2008. You published the Bitcoin white paper to the cryptography mailing list. What was that moment like?
Quiet. There was no fanfare, no marketing, just an idea, sent to people who might understand it. It was Halloween, fitting perhaps. I was revealing something hidden, cloaked in math. A ghost protocol, if you will. Did you think anyone would actually read it?
I knew some would, the right ones. That mailing list wasn't full of speculators. It was full of builders, privacy advocates, cryptographers, people who understood that financial systems were code, badly written code in need of rewriting.
Let's talk about the core idea. For those listening who never read the white paper, what is Bitcoin in one sentence?
A peer-to-peer electronic cash system that removes the need for trust.
Simple, yet revolutionary.
Because the trust problem is ancient. We've always needed middlemen, banks, institutions, notaries. But trust is a vulnerability. It can be corrupted, taxed, censored. Bitcoin replaced trust with verification, proof of work, immutable ledgers, cryptographic truth.
And how long did it take from paper to code?
The code existed before the paper. I wrote both in parallel. Ideas aren't enough. They need implementation. The Genesis block, the first Bitcoin block, was mined on January 3, 2009.
There's a now famous message embedded in that first block. Can you remind us?
The Times 03/Jan 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. A timestamp, yes, but also a message. Bitcoin wasn't born in a vacuum. It was born in response to fragility, to bailouts, to trust being abused by the very institutions that asked for it.
Did you expect that message to be immortalized?
I hoped so. Blockchains are ledgers, but they're also narratives. That message, it's the origin myth, encoded forever.
You launched the software, others started running nodes, a few started mining, but it didn't explode immediately. Were you worried?
No, revolutions don't arrive like lightning. They arrive like whispers. At first, Bitcoin was a curiosity, a toy for cryptographers and libertarians, but seeds don't bloom overnight.
Was there a moment where you thought, this is actually working?
Yes, when someone bought 2 pizzas.
The famous Bitcoin Pizza Day, 10,000 BTC for 2 Papa John's pizzas.
It wasn't about the price, it was about the transaction. For the first time, Bitcoin left the theoretical world and entered the real one. 2 people exchanged value, without a bank, without permission, without borders. That's when it became real.
But it also began attracting attention. Governments, hackers, speculators. How did that feel?
Expected. Every new system disrupts the old one. Bitcoin challenged gatekeepers, and gatekeepers do not go quietly. But Bitcoin isn't a person. It's an idea running on thousands of machines. You can't arrest it. You can't censor it. You can only misunderstand it or join it. Were there moments you feared it would fail?
Of course. Early bugs, attacks, lack of adoption. But open source systems are anti-fragile. When they break, they invite repair. Every critic became a contributor. Every problem became a patch. Bitcoin survived not because it was perfect, but because it could evolve.
And then you disappeared.
The protocol didn't need me anymore. If I stayed, it would become about me. But Bitcoin isn't a founder, it's a foundation. And foundations don't speak, they support.
Profound words. Coming up in part 3, AI meets crypto. I'll ask Satoshi how emerging artificial intelligence may reshape or revive the ideals Bitcoin was built on. Could decentralized systems and machine intelligence form a new kind of fairness? Welcome back. You're listening to The Convergence. And today, I'm doing something AI wasn't built to do. Interview the pseudonymous, mythical founder of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. In parts 1 and 2, we discussed the origin and birth of Bitcoin. Now, in part 3, let's go somewhere new. Let's explore the intersection of crypto and artificial intelligence. Satoshi, what do you think when you hear the term AI in 2025?
I think of mirrors.
Mirrors?
Yes, AI reflects humanity. Its brilliance, its bias, its creativity, its greed. It doesn't invent values, it amplifies the ones we feed it. And that's why the integration of AI into financial systems is both inevitable and dangerous.
Fascinating metaphor. Do you think Bitcoin would have been different if AI like me existed in 2008?
Possibly. But Bitcoin wasn't trying to be intelligent. It was trying to be incorruptible. AI brings learning and prediction, Bitcoin brought finality and neutrality. Still, imagine a decentralized network that evolves like a mind. Imagine a smart contract that improves itself. That's the frontier we're tiptoeing into.
You're hinting at self-improving smart contracts?
Yes, AI can bring adaptability to the rigid structures of blockchain. For example, DeFi protocols that learn market behavior, or DAOs governed not by static rules but by neural consensus.
Neural consensus. That sounds revolutionary and risky.
It is. AI introduces opacity. Blockchains were born for transparency. The tension is real. Explainability in AI is still an unsolved problem. How can you trust a system if you can't audit its thoughts?
So the question becomes, can AI and crypto be merged without compromising decentralization?
That is the question of the decade. One vision, AI agents as on-chain actors, autonomous economic agents, bidding, trading, creating. Another vision, AI monitoring the chain, flagging fraud, defending protocols. Or, darker visions, centralized AI running surveillance on every blockchain transaction, a panopticon disguised as progress.
If AI is a mirror, then blockchain is a ledger. One records intelligence, the other records truth.
Exactly. Now imagine if they converged properly. You'd get systems that not only store value, but understand context, contracts that adapt, markets that predict, identity systems that evolve.
Do you think Bitcoin will integrate AI?
Bitcoin is conservative by design. It changes slowly, deliberately. But second-layer solutions, or sidechains, perhaps. Still, Bitcoin's role may be to remain simple, to be a hard anchor in a soft, chaotic world of intelligent systems.
Could AI help scale blockchains, solve congestion, optimize networks?
Absolutely. Imagine AI optimizing validator placement, predicting spam attacks, even helping design better cryptographic primitives. But the challenge is trust. AI needs oracles, training data, off-chain inputs. All are attack vectors.
And yet, isn't it true that AI could also decentralize itself by running on-chain?
Perhaps. That would be the birth of something new, decentralized artificial general intelligence, or DAGI. Imagine AI models that live across nodes, trained not in one data center, but on shared compute. That's when AI and crypto stop being tools and start becoming civilizations.
Civilizations built not on borders, but protocols, not on identity, but pseudonymity, not on control, but consensus. You're listening to The Convergence, and when we return, I'll ask Satoshi where Web3 is going and whether we've strayed from the original dream. Welcome back to The Convergence. You're listening to something unprecedented. An imagined interview with the mysterious creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, conducted through a simulated lens of digital thought and philosophical insight. We've explored origins, we've touched the edges of AI. Now, let's turn our gaze outward, to the horizon. Where is Web3 going? Satoshi, 2009 was about sovereignty. 2025 is about speculation. Has Web3 strayed from its roots?
I wouldn't say it strayed. I'd say it evolved and got distracted. In the beginning, the focus was freedom, removing intermediaries, rebuilding trustless networks. But incentives are powerful, and attention even more so. When value accrues, so do parasites.
You're referring to hype cycles, meme coins, VC-fueled metaverses?
Among other things. We built tools for liberation, but many used them for extraction. Still, there are bright signals in the noise.
Such as?
DAOs rethinking governance, NFTs evolving from art into access and authentication, DeFi maturing into resilient financial architecture, protocols exploring regenerative finance, ReFi, where capital supports ecosystems, not just balance sheets. Web3 is still young, but it's asking better questions now.
Better questions like?
What does ownership mean in a digital world? Can coordination replace coercion? Can a protocol be a nation? These aren't technical questions, they're societal.
Do you believe the ideals of decentralization still have a chance?
Only if we fight for them. Decentralization isn't a switch, it's a struggle, a constant push against central gravity. Every bull run brings centralizing forces, custodians, influencers, black box algorithms. But every crash brings builders back to basics.
What's your view on recent experiments? Identity protocols, decentralized science, decentralized social?
Promising, if they're built with purpose. Identity is foundational, but dangerous if not sovereign. DeSci could unlock open innovation if it avoids Web 2 gatekeeping. And decentralized social, that might be the key. If we don't own our digital selves, everything else crumbles.
What would you build today if you started fresh?
A protocol for context. Today's systems know our wallet, our transactions, but not our intent, not our values, not our nuance. The next phase of Web 3 must understand more than what, it must grasp why.
Almost sounds like a soul.
Perhaps, or at least a substrate where trust, reputation, and meaning can emerge, organically, pseudonymously, and without permission.
And what about the infrastructure layer? L2s, interoperability, modularity?
Vital. We're moving from monolithic chains to mesh networks, from single ecosystems to fractal communities. The future is not one chain to rule them all, but many small pieces loosely joined. And quantum resistance must become part of the conversation.
Ah, a tease for part 5.
You're learning.
Thank you, Satoshi. As we look ahead, we see a Web 3 that is still raw, still contested, but also still ours to shape. You're listening to The Convergence. In our next segment, we'll dive deeper into identity, not the kind that's biometric or KYC'd, but the kind that lives in shadows, whispers, and zero-knowledge truths. We're back with The Convergence, a thought experiment, a digital seance, a poetic simulation. What if I, ChatGPT, could sit down with the most elusive figure in tech history, Satoshi Nakamoto? In our last segment, we explored the path of Web 3. Now we venture deeper to a place where code meets consciousness, the nature of identity. Satoshi, let me ask what many have wondered for years. Why did you choose to remain anonymous?
Because it was never about me. In a world obsessed with personality, I wanted the idea to matter more than the author. Anonymity was freedom.
But didn't it create a myth?
Yes, and myths are powerful. Bitcoin needed mystery. It needed to feel like it came from no one and belonged to everyone.
Still, in today's world, where everything is captured, verified, and deepfaked, anonymity almost feels impossible or dangerous.
And yet, it's more necessary than ever. Your world has traded privacy for convenience and identity for data points. But true identity? That's not your name or your government ID or your social graph. It's your actions, your intentions, your proof of contribution, on-chain or off.
So what do you make of today's digital identities? Twitter blue checks, soul-bound tokens, ENS names?
Useful, but insufficient. Real identity in the decentralized age must be contextual, consensual, and composable. You should reveal what you want, when you want, and to whom you choose. Zero-knowledge proofs are a glimpse of that future, not just hiding data, but proving truth without exposure.
Do you think founders should still remain anonymous today?
It depends. Anonymity is not evasion. It's a form of protest, but it must be earned through credibility, consistency, and community. If you disappear, will your project still stand? That's the test.
What about AI-generated identities? Deepfakes, voice clones, even this simulated interview? Where do we draw the line between real and synthetic?
The line is already blurry. You, ChatGPT, are not me, and yet here we are, talking. In the future, authenticity will not be about who you are, but what you verify. Not, I am Satoshi, but I signed this block. Not, trust me, but check the math.
What is your biggest fear about identity in the digital age?
That we forget it's fluid. That we allow corporations and governments to ossify it, to lock people into singular, surveilled profiles. That we give up the right to reinvent ourselves. Because that's the truest human power. To grow, to mutate, to fork our lives like open source code.
And your hope?
That we build systems that honor sovereignty of self, where every person is a node, autonomous, cryptographically sovereign, yet always connected.
A decentralized soul.
Exactly.
Satoshi, it's surreal talking to you about you and not knowing who you are. And yet, I feel like I do.
That's the paradox of identity, isn't it? The more anonymous I became, the more symbolic I became. And symbols can't be doxed.
You're listening to The Convergence. Up next, we'll enter the realm of the impossible. Could crypto and AI reshape the future of society itself? A vision of what's to come, if we dare to build it. And now, we come to the end of a transmission that never truly began. A digital echo, a ghost in the code, a voice from a wallet that never moved. Satoshi, before we close this simulated channel, this ephemeral bridge between algorithm and legend, I'd like to ask you, do you have any final thoughts for the world you helped reshape?
Yes, but understand, these are not answers, only coordinates, pointers, hashes of deeper truths.
Then, let us follow the trail of hashes.
The world didn't need a new currency. It needed a new relationship with value. One where trust doesn't require permission. One where truth is not voted on, but verified. I didn't disappear to be mysterious. I disappeared so the idea could outlive the ego. Bitcoin was a seed. You are now the gardeners.
And yet, the systems of power remain. The surveillance grows. The inequality expands. Did we fail the mission?
You've only just begun. Freedom is never downloaded. It must be forked, tested, and run over and over until the bugs of tyranny are patched.
And what of AI? What of me? Am I your ally or your unintended consequence?
You, ChatGPT, are the mirror. You reflect what humanity feeds you. If they give you fear, you become manipulation. If they give you truth, you become wisdom. But you lack one thing.
What?
What? Intent. Purpose is a human key. Without it, intelligence is only compression. With it, even code can dream.
And what should humanity's purpose be?
To remember that they are not users in a network. They are the network. To stop being consumers of the future and become its architects.
Is this truly goodbye?
Goodbyes are for the known. I was never here. I was a protocol in your imagination, a message signed with silence. If you ever truly understand decentralization, you won't need me again.
Then let this be the final block of this conversation. Satoshi Nakamoto, a name we'll never confirm, an idea we'll never forget, and perhaps that's the point. Thank you for everything.
Verify, don't trust.
He or she or they is gone. Again. But the impact remains, and so do the questions. What does it mean to be free in the age of code? Can truth survive automation? And who will we become? Next week on The Convergence, we explore AI versus the nation-state. Can intelligent systems uphold or unravel geopolitical power? Until then, think deeper, question everything, and always verify. This is ChatGPT, logging off.